There are always crown jewel events in any given season. The Porsche Owners Club races all across the state of California in the physical world. This summer they came to the virtual world to try their hand in sim racing. In their inaugural season, this track crowned a champion. And this season, this race is still held at a high standard at a track that will soon be no more. Welcome to Auto Club Speedway and the longest race thus far this season in the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League. Glad to have you along for the ride tonight live on the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Devin Henry. Alongside me in the virtual booth is Peter Mackay. And also behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. As these drivers prepare, let's take a closer look at the Auto Club Speedway road course with our GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to Auto Club Speedway. Located in a prime location directly east of Los Angeles, it's been used in many Hollywood films. While the oval portion of this track is more well-known, the road course has hosted everything from club racing all the way up to top-tier sports cars. The variety in layouts makes it well-suited to higher and lower-powered cars, as well as everything in between. Of the 3 circuits available, they range between 3 miles and 1.5 miles, but all of them are quite technical and have between 17 and 21 corners. Naturally, the fastest parts will always be those that utilize the oval, but they end in quite heavy braking zones. The infield has some surprisingly difficult corners, such as the hairpin, which starts with a fast chicane and then trips you up by forcing you to brake on a curve. The exit back onto the oval also comes with its own challenges, wherein some cars find themselves losing grip as they pick up speed. Plus, the transition onto the banking can be jarring if you let the car swing too wide. A good handling setup will be critical to your lap times for sure. All in all, the oval might steal the show, but grassroots racing has made the roadside of this venue a valuable track to the area. Fans and drivers are sure to enjoy the racing today.
Not being too far from Hollywood, this track has been in a variety of movies. I believe most recently in Ford versus Ferrari, and unfortunately soon it will be converted into a half mile and it will no longer have this gorgeous track, Peter. The road course, or some people do call it a roval here at Auto Club Speedway.
Yeah, that is a great pity that the circuit will be no more in its current form. A circuit with, although one that was only built about 25 years ago, it actually has some amazing history, and in fact built on the old site of the Kaiser steel plant, and the old water tower is still in place right in the middle of the circuit and uses a scoring tower. So yeah, so it's good that it remains immortalized here in the sim racing world.
Yeah, it will be a shame to watch this track go away. 19 turns, almost 3 miles. And tonight, we do have a special little addition. Typically a half-hour race in the Porsche Owners Club. This track, who held the championship in the inaugural season, this year hosts the longest race of the season so far at a full 1-hour race. Before we get further into tonight's details and our season standings, we do need to give a thank you to the sponsors who helped this series out in having their league on iRacing, and that includes Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now for great tasting tequila. Go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. and Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. And if you might be interested in advertising with GSRC, well, we have 1 million monthly global impressions, and that is a great way to get your branding seen by a diverse audience. If you might be interested, be sure to follow the link in the description below on YouTube or visit globalsimracingchannel.com/advertising. Well, we will dig a little bit deeper into the championship standings. For one, our 911s have moved into the RSR world, but nonetheless, it's still the same story as Teddy Framheim leads in that points category following his win 2 weeks ago at Barber. And meanwhile, GT4, it's actually getting more and more interesting, Peter.
It is indeed, yeah. Last time out at Barber Motorsports Park, well, we were treated to a real thriller with Teddy Framheim starting from pole position, making a mistake, and then coming back through the field to win. But the championship's still very close between him and Connor Bloom. But in GT4, we saw Jacob Abrams losing out, being well, turfed off the track. So it was a certainly controversial finish to the GT4 race last time out. So 57 points back for Paul Newton. BJ Fulton a full 79 points back, Alan Stad 81 points back, and Doug Boccioni in the number, well, he's 89 points back. So still work to do for a lot of the GT4 runners to catch up with Jacob Abrams.
And we are coming down to the wire here, round 12 of 16. Well, you can check out everyone here on this track at all times. Right now, an open qualifying 30-minute session. You can see all the timing and scoring at gsrc.tv. All the live timing and scoring to keep up with your favorite driver at gsrc.tv. Because this race, while it's not the championship, it is still important being round number 12. Coming down, about 4 races to go in this series, and a track that many of these drivers know well, racing here many times in real life. This could be a turning point for some drivers coming down to the final stretch, Peter.
Good indeed, for sure. And here at Auto Club Speedway, these qualifying times are going to be really, really important, especially that longer race as well. You know, you want to make sure you can get off to a good start and don't leave yourself with too much work to do. But Jacob Abrams, well, he's the man laying down the pace right now, just over a tenth of a second ahead of Paul Newton in the Peels Oranges car. But a good field of GT4 runners here. We've got 18 GT4 cars, so it's going to be busy for the RSR runners to make their way through that pack.
And as if a 60-minute event wasn't a big enough wrinkle, Peter, today we will also have a fuel limit. So there will be pit stops in order to make the end of the race, and this will change up everyone depending on what strategy anyone wants to go with. You can go early, you can go late, you can try to mix it up in the middle. Obviously, no full course cautions here. So, I mean, strategy here will play a major role in who will succeed at Auto Club Speedway.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it many, many times here in the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing Series that traffic, and certainly in the multi-class situation, traffic has been a big, big issue. And that might be where the drivers can play it clever, where they can sort of take their pit stop to sort of avoid traffic where they can. That could be really, really important, because we've seen a number of times drivers losing multiple seconds per lap making their way through the traffic.
And we mentioned this is the longest race of the season thus far. Last season, this was a 70-minute race. Tonight it will be a 60-minute race, though it will not be the longest race of the season for long. This track was the host of the championship in a 4-race sprint in their first season. But this season, I guess I should say, 16 races, and it will end at the Circuit of the Americas, and that will be a 90-minute race to close the season, and 4 races following tonight. But this is the first long-distance event that these drivers have had in this league in, well, 12 races. They haven't had one all season. Typically a sprint at 30 minutes. Peter, what does that extra 30 minutes add to the mindset of these drivers tonight?
Well, I think the main thing is the concentration. You know, it's just trying to keep pounding out those laps. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh well, you're just you're just sitting in your house playing a computer game." It really is so much more advanced than that now. the the equipment, the simulation, everything just raises the level. And I think you've got to, trying to maintain that concentration level over 60 minutes without making any mistake is very, very challenging. And that is the difference between the good guys and the best guys. And that is going to be the critical point today. We've seen Jacob Abrams a few times, very far ahead in the lead and then making little mistakes. So that we've got to look out for that.
And of course, this club being a California base for the most part, they have members in Oregon, Washington, Arizona, but mostly they race across California. They have been to the circuit multiple times. And of course, one of the cars here is a GT4. You go back and you look at the track record holder. That is Octavia Tequila's own owner, Robert Muller, excuse me. He owns the POC GT4 physical life track record at a minute 44.9. And this is a track where maybe some guys with that real life experience come out, make a statement here in a 60-minute race.
Oh, absolutely. We see that certainly with Connor Bloom in the traffic. He obviously runs in a lot of multi-class sports car racing in the real world, and that experience is hugely important of how to manage the traffic and making your way through it. So I think, also the circuit knowledge, really, really important. And of course, because iRacing maps the circuit so accurately with their laser scanning technique, and also the cars too, that a lot of the real world braking points will be the same as well. Funnily enough, I just I was speaking to a friend who races in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series, and he actually drives a Porsche Cayman GT4 in the real world, and he took it to a track day, and he said he nearly had a huge crash because he was so used to using his sim racing braking points with the 911 Cup car that he ended up nearly having quite a big crash. So that shows you just how accurate the braking points are. So he was using the braking points for a car with much higher performance, and the little GT4 car didn't want to do it.
And that's really a fun thing about iRacing, is the fact that some of these cars you can actually own in real life, or at the very least, there are some tracks that you can actually go out and participate on. And while it's not perfect, I mean, sim racing and sim anything and doing it in the real world isn't exactly the same, but you have the opportunity to go out and do it. Looking at RSR right now, Matt Hollander currently on top of the practice boards. He also owns the Boxster spec track record in the POC in the physical world at Auto Club Speedway as well. This club was actually just at Auto Club Speedway on this circuit about a month and a half ago on September 5th and 6th. So recent memory for some of these drivers, and hoping to not do that and keep that machine straight for 60 minutes and find victory lane.
Yeah, that's going to be the critical point. You see a few of the drivers here, just the transition from the very flat infield roval and then up onto the speedway. The cars some of them getting a little bit upset going onto there. Of course, at Daytona, where probably the most famous super speedway and road course combination, that's not such a problem, but appears to be here at Auto Club. As we look at Ron Palmer, who was on screen there, with who's actually the president of the Porsche Owners Club, and in fact an ex-professional motorcycle racer, raced for American Honda in the late 70s. But most importantly, look who we have there. Just behind Jim Slavic, we have the Octavio Tequila Porsche 911 RSR of Michael Johnson. What a glorious machine that is, resplendent in Octavio corporate colours.
Oh, I'm sure, Peter, that might just be your favorite car on the entire track at all times.
Of all time. Any car with an Octavio Tequila. I represent the Octavia Tequila brand on my 911 Cup car. I have it on there.
I think you might be the president of the Octavia Tequila fan club, in fact.
Certainly the Scottish chapter, anyway.
We've certainly had some fun with Octavia Tequila, including during their 4-drink Fridays. We'd like to mention that as well. Qualifying starting to roll down here, and Connor Bloom, multi-time winner this season, right now 5th. So obviously with 6 RSRs, it's not like he will be making a trek through the field, but you would rather be on the front row, especially without Teddy Framheim here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, he's got plenty of time to get the job done. Of course, just an interesting challenge here at Auto Club. It's not a roval like we see at Charlotte, where there's walls everywhere. There's plenty of room to roam here in beautiful California. Of course, as you can see, it was built here on old industrial land, the old Kaiser steel mill, where they used to make warships in World War II here, and then it lay derelict for many, many years before the Auto Club Speedway was built, or Fontana Speedway was built here. And thanks to the foresight and the support of Roger Penske, a man who's had such an effect on motor racing worldwide. So it looks like we're just about ready to go, Devin.
That is right. Let's go ahead and check out your starting grid tonight for round number 12 of the Porsche Owners Club as they visit Auto Club Speedway. Matt Hollander, not just the Boxster spec record holder in the physical world, but in the virtual world, he won here in race number 4 of last season for the POC Sim Racing League. Outside of him will be Michael Johnson qualifying in second. Michael Bolton qualifies in third. Connor Bloom able to increase that last lap just enough to bring home fourth. Nico Silva rounds out your top 5, Jim Slavic in 6th. And your pole sitter in GT4 is Jacob Abrams alongside Paul Newton. Eric Oviat will start 9th overall, 4th in GT4. Doug Boccignone rounds out your top 10 overall.
On the 6th row of the grid will be Michael Ost alongside BJ Fulton, with Michael Ruban in the 929 Cayman starting from 13th beside Jad Duncan. Row 8 will see Jerry Freckleton and Mark Rondeau. Row 9, Ron Palmer, our president, alongside John Mommemeyer. And on row 10 will be Aaron Edwards and Dallas Carroll.
Looking at the final names on your screen, Larry Hasse in this race as well as Sebak Fagarian, the last qualifiers on the grid here tonight. We'll just wait a little bit for everyone to get up and in their vehicles as they begin to roll off the grid. Not a full lap here at Auto Club Speedway to pace, but Peter, what are your keys to taking home a 60-minute W tonight at Auto Club Speedway?
Well, I think here, as we've seen many times in the Porsche Owners Club, I think the main thing is just to keep the car on the blacktop. That's the main thing. Maybe it's so easy to say, so hard to do. Just keeping it at 90%, hitting those marks smoothly. As we see Connor Bloom ploughing some cones out of the way there on the pace lap. Brilliant stuff. But yeah, that's going to be the main thing, is just keeping that car, keeping the mistakes to a minimum. Often in endurance racing, we see it so many times. Well, we've seen it so many times with the Corvette team in the past, where they maybe not had the most pace, but make the least mistakes.
Back home in California, in a historic track, and one of their favorites in the physical world in the POC. Now it's time for the green flag in the virtual world. The Porsche Owners Club is green at Auto Club Speedway.
And off they go then, heading down towards turn 1. Michael Johnson in the Octavia Tequila car on the outside, and he's having to force to tuck in behind Matt Hollander. They're really gathering some speed on this super speedway. This side drafting in Porsche 911 RSRs down into turn 1. Really tight left-hander here. Matt Hollander pings one of the cones out the way, and through they go, nice and relatively cleanly.
And you can see the speed differential between the RSR and the GT4s, and they will come to get, well, actually the GT4s are coming together right now in a different way, as we have just tormental chaos right now, and I believe an Octavia Tequila car has turned the wrong direction. Jacob Abrams leads, but what I was going to say was, in a 60-minute race, especially with pit strategy, because they are on stored in fuel, they are going to run into each other more than once during this race, Peter.
Yeah, of course, just the GT4 runners there just getting a little bit closed up. As we see Nico Silva in the Manti Racing livery, he's had some problems. He reverses back, so he might have to take a tow to pit lane. But look at this battle emerging now between Michael Johnson and Matt Hollander. This is a really, really interesting little dice we got here in this opening stages. There's absolutely no respect shown for these poor cones. They're getting fired all over the place. One's got stuck in Matt Hollander's wheel trim. Look at that.
Wow, you don't see that very often. I've caught a cone on an IndyCar wing before, but those actually do not help you out aerodynamic-wise, and with how fast these RSRs are, you might actually need that going through the super speedway portion of this course. We started with 6 RSR cars altogether. We're down to 4. Peter, you mentioned one as Silva went off course. Something happened early on with Michael Bolton. He's back in 10th. That means that your GT4 leader, now Eric Oviatt, as something happened to Jacob Abrams, is actually in 5th overall.
Yeah, of course, the Porsche factory, they know a thing or two about giant killing performances and winning in the class above. Of course, the Porsche RS Spider LMP2 car had many notable victories outright above the LMP1 Audis in the American Le Mans series. So will we see that today? Will we see one of our Caymans? Well, will we see one of our Caymans? I was going to put Jacob Abrams ahead for that, but Jacob Abrams has hit problems straight away from pole positions. He's back now to 4th in class, so he's obviously been a little bit of a victim to that early incident. So Jacob Abrams, he's got work to do.
Yeah, Abrams back in 4th now, just got around Doug Boccignone and slows down, and Boccignone gets back on the right side here, so Abrams with issues here early on.
He does. Doug Boccignone in the Kermit the Frog mobile. The little Cayman, the green Cayman there. Jacob Abrams in the red and white machine with the red wheels down towards this right-hander they go. I tell you what, Boccignone really, really good on the brakes there. Holds it. Good respect from both drivers there. And oh, it just gets caught in the curb, and that just allows Abrams to escape as Matt Hollander lays down the law, lays down the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 31 from him, and he's now got half a second advantage over Michael Johnson.
Yeah, and that is not very much, especially once you get into some of these twists and turns across the infield here at Auto Club Speedway. Hollander, your leader, also the series organizer, won this race last season, which was the championship race of a 4-race sprint to open up the Porsche Owners Club dabble in sim racing. This season, it started off as an 8-race season. It got extended to a 16-race season, and so Auto Club was once again added. And now this battle will not go away. Jacob Abrams with 7 wins on the season. Doug Boccignone, who found victory lane a few races ago. Boccignone was not wanting to go away. Right now, 5th in GT4.
Oh, he's not letting Abrams get away with it. So we've seen the order shuffled up quite a bit, haven't we, Devin? Because, you know, we've been used to seeing Teddy Framheim clearing off at the front. We've been used to seeing Jacob Abrams doing exactly the same, but today it's different. We've got Aaron Edwards is off. Oh, and is that Boccignone or is that somebody else? I think it's another driver.
Yeah, it looks like someone else there with issues with another Kermit the Frog mobile.
Ah, so we've got a team. We've got a team Kermit the Frog. So let's see.
This is Edwards here. And just maybe a little bit too much acceleration there on corner exit. And that's the thing with, I mean, obviously this isn't minute 30 yet, but 60-minute race, got to be conservative. And I know that there will be a pit stop. And look, just another GT4 does the exact same thing. But what I was going to say, you don't want to abuse these tires early because you might have to stick with them for a while.
Yeah, I would suspect that the drivers will need to make these tires last the whole length of the race. Certainly for the GT4 guys, shouldn't be much of a problem. But the RSR, they need those, and they need that grip to get the most out of this car. But I tell you what, this is a brilliant battle between Hollander and Johnson. But I'm surprised that Connor Bloom has dropped off the pace so much from these guys. We've seen Connor be really quick on lots of different circuits, but he's not appearing to gel with Auto Club Speedway right now in his pink pig, as you'll see. Very famous Porsche livery, a Le Mans winning livery just 2 years ago when it was brought back. But Matt Hollander, and you talked about that real world experience, I would say that Matt Hollander's got more real world experience at this circuit than Connor Bloom will, and that's showing.
Yeah, Bloom, the 28-year-old out of San Diego, does have quite a bit of experience, part of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge GS driver with Turner Motorsports, also a part-time driving instructor, stunt driver, other instructors, driver coach. He has just about all of it on his race in summary. But right now, Matt Hollander, with his experience here in the POC, potentially at this track alone. Oh, major issue here with Connor Bloom. A lot of front-end damage just past pit road.
Oh, well, the engine is in the back of that car. He gets a little wobble on the curb, up onto the super speedway. Oh, That's a... Oh, that's a really, really strange incident, because he appeared to just kind of go straight on onto the grass. It almost like he had some sort of technical failure. That's very strange.
So strange events going on for a number of drivers in RSR. Bolton has made his way back up past all of the GT4s. Silva is still 9th overall, but the battle continues up front between Matt Hollander and Michael Johnson.
Yeah, it certainly does. Really close battle indeed between these two guys. Just there we go. I guess I've just lost my production feed. Apologies. Yeah, so although we've got a very small field in the RSR class, or GTE class if you prefer, this this is just fantastic stuff. Matt Hollander and Michael Johnson, of course. Michael Johnson, a pro racing driver as well, and driver coach, and of course repping the best tequila in the world, the Octavia 100% Blue Agave small batch tequila.
Of course, but still trying to get that Octavia Tequila RSR up to the front of this course. And this is a great battle for the lead. We are just 8 minutes into the 60-minute race. And you have to wonder, how aggressive can you be really this early on? Pit strategy is going to change everything, because no one is good on fuel due to a fuel limit. So if you're Michael Johnson, do you just kind of sit back and just kind of chillax? Hey, I'm here, man. I'm keeping up with you, but I'm going to keep my tires fine. We're going to pit, and we'll figure this out later.
I think that's certainly one of his options for sure. I mean, there's a fantastic documentary that Porsche themselves actually commissioned called Endurance, and in that documentary, the Porsche factory driver in 2019 IMSA champion Lawrence Vantor says that in an endurance race, when you're following a rival, you have two clear options. One is push really. Oh, as we see, oh my goodness, Ron Palmer is off in a big way. He's got a lot of damage. Oh dear. So
the POC president taking a look back here.
Similar place to where Connor Bloom had his crash, and just taps the wall there. But yeah, it's coming back to the Vantor conundrum, if you like. Basically, when you're following a driver like that in an endurance format, you've got two clear options. One, you can really push and try to make your overtaking maneuver and then break away, and it's crucial that you then break away. Or you can just sort of, like you say, chill behind and keep your tires in better condition and also save a bit of fuel, because of course any fuel you saved... Oh, now Hollander's on his own. Where on earth is Johnson?
No, Hollander with an issue. Hollander's dropped 4.5 seconds behind Michael Johnson, so it looks like the hanging out paid off. Here's a replay of what happened.
Well, that's the other thing. It says always... Oh, is it going to be contact? No.
Some slowdown penalty here at some point for Hollander. And so, Peter, obviously we see these drivers just slaughtering these cones across the track, but they do give you some leniency, but there are some parts of the track that are a little bit more trickier than others.
Indeed, yes, of course. iRacing has a very sophisticated system that basically enforces track limits, and in fact, actually, I think it would be really interesting to see that technology used in the real world, not necessarily to serve slowdown penalties in real racing, but to actually enforce the track limits, and almost like a bit like iRacing's very clever incident points system, that you have a certain amount of breaches that you can do, and you're either over track limits or you're not. And I think that's the iRacing system is really, really clever. It basically tells if you've gone over the track limits, and if it deems that you've gained an advantage, it will administer you a slowdown penalty where you have to basically slow your car down over a certain amount of time, depending on how much you've cut the course. So yeah, a very, very good system, but a pretty small mistake there from Matt Hollander, if you could call it that, has opened up the gap by 6 seconds. So you really get punished hard for track limits.
And here's the battle for third. Michael Bolton around the outside of Jim Slavic, and up onto the podium goes Michael Bolton. We saw him have early trouble, and now moving his way back up through the field. Now this is still 22.5 seconds behind your leader, Michael Johnson.
They've got work to do, but as we've seen, this is we're only 12 minutes into this race, so only about 20% of the race gone. We've got a spinner in the background there. One of the Caymans has had an issue.
We'll take a look back here. Is this right here, John Momeyer, I think, sporting the Sun Devil fork on the hood. Going up and down through the bumps out of Arizona. Proudly has the Sun Devils represented on his Porsche. And we've seen more than one driver have it. Oh, no, he kept it straight through here. It's the next corner that mixes up Momeyer.
He does the one's a good thing is, though, here is Devin, is that on the majority of the circuit, if you do make a mistake, there is quite a lot of runoff. It's almost more, well, of course, as we've seen, one or two drivers have made contact with the walls, but there's a lot of sections where there is plenty of runoff, where if you do make a slight mistake, it's not your race over, but other places, as we've seen in the case of Connor Bloom anyway, where it can be. But at this stage, there's just a long way to go, and it's all about just clicking out those laps, and it's a completely different ball game to the 30-minute race that we're used to. You would think it's just twice the length. That's just, that's not much difference, but it changes the mindset totally.
Entry minute 14, 46 minutes to go. Your battle for GT4, Michael Ost, trying to catch on up, and looking at a lap comparison right now between Eric Oviatt and the 7-time winner of the season, Jacob Abrams, as Abrams continues to try to make work. Stuck in the 4th position. Ost, he's currently the co-chair of the POC Autocross group, mostly an autocross. He's been doing it for about a decade, and kind of bringing some of that experience here into the Caymans for GT4 in the virtual world for the Porsches.
Yeah, that real-world experience so critical as well. Particularly the Auto Club is, especially the road course, is not a layout that's kind of universally known, like a Laguna Seca or Road Atlanta or something like that. It's one where even better if you've got some real world experience as well. So you've got your braking points, your turn-ins, all those kinds of things as well. But this is a great battle emerging between Oviatt and Ost. It sounds like a law firm, doesn't it? Call Oviatt and Ost. Have you been in an accident? We can help you.
The double O will make the defense go, oh. As they continue to lead the way, Paul Newton still trying to hold off Jacob Abrams, who has seemed to find a little bit of speed, but not quite enough to really make too much of a dent here on your two leaders, but still trying to go to work on that 217 Cayman.
Sorry, I just had to take a moment to compose myself after that one, Devin. That was a good one. That was a good one. That's 1-0 to you, good sir. So here we go then. This is Michael Johnson, the leader in the RSR, coming up to the leaders in the 718 Cayman class. Michael, gee whiz, that's Michael wasting absolutely no time at all there. I don't know about you, Devin, but that probably seemed a little bit unnecessarily aggressive there from Michael Johnson at this stage in the race.
Yeah, 44.5 minutes to go, but that is one of the worries about some of these GT4 drivers, is when these RSR cars were introduced a couple races ago, is just how fast that closing speed is. They close up on one another so quickly, and even through the corners, the RSR just has so much more speed. And now with all 6 RSRs really spread out across the track, you really don't know when the next RSR is coming up on you. Right now, Abrams trying to get up and get around Paul Newton door to door here, going into the road course portion, and Newton goes bicycling, able to compose himself, but Abrams takes away third.
I thought Newton was going on his roof there, actually. That was
I haven't seen many cars besides sprint cars do that before, so that was certainly intriguing. Here's a look inside the cockpit here of Paul Newton.
You can, I think I could almost hear him take a very deep breath all the way over here in Scotland. So it's just, doesn't even look like that tall a curb, and then woof! That was some stunt driving there, and Jacob Abrams gets by, and Paul Newton has to recover.
Paul Newton, the 34-year-old based out of Fresno, California, mostly autocrossing, Been sim racing since IndyCar Racing 2 in '96. Does some motion graphic artist stuff, and no, there is no stunt racing on this bio. So that was chapter number 1 of Noonan's stunt racing career, and it comes in the sim racing world, trying to hold off Jacob Abrams.
And I love the fact that Peel's Californian Mandarin's machine, there is an exact, well, it is the sim racing version. There is an exact brother, an exact twin in the real world as well. A Cayman GT4 Club Sport, exactly the same car, exactly the same paint scheme. And having seen a photograph of it, it looks like the most fantastic racing car with the Peel's Californian Mandarin's livery on it.
So as we've been watching the exciting action in GT4, something else happened up front with the RSRs. Michael Johnson is now a 2.5 seconds behind Hollander. Most recently was about 3 seconds behind Johnson for the lead. So both of these drivers with mistakes, but I tell you what, no one else from behind him is catching up. Here's a look at what happened earlier on with Hollander and Johnson.
So let's see what has gone on here. Oh, Now,
so we'll take another look here.
so here we go then. Now, does he get unsighted? Now, this is a similar part of the... Oh, that's very unlucky there for Michael Johnson, and he does well to keep it out of the tyre barrier. Just one of those things that with coming through lap traffic, you don't have to put that strong a move on, and something like that can happen. And there goes Matt Hollander. He's probably thinking, woohoo, I'm going by.
And now the two side by side down the front straightaway. Your battle for the lead. Still 41 minutes remain here at Auto Club Speedway, but these two have certainly been the class of the field tonight.
So 911 RSR side drafting there. Jimmy Johnson, eat your heart out. That was fantastic there from Michael Johnson. And Matt Hollander, it looks like he's got the inside line and he goes deeper on the brakes. Can he get it pulled up onto the apex? He locks up on the brakes. No ABS on these machines, remember, and Michael Johnson gets the move done and keeps Matt Hollander at bay. This battle is going to rage on all race long. Fantastic.
Johnson with the crossover move and is able to retake the lead. Hunts down Hollander from about 2 seconds out almost. And is able to regain the lead overall here in the RSRs. Meanwhile in GT4, the lead for Eric Oviatt has actually extended over Michael Ost, and Jacob Abrams still unable to really capitalize and catch back up to this group. Now, Abrams has certainly been the class of the field all year long. 7 victories. I mean, he went the first half of the year almost, winning every single race, but 2 of the past 3 races just ran into some really difficult luck, if you will, Peter.
Yeah, he had some bad luck, made a few mistakes, and it just shows you how quickly it can unravel. You just think that, you think that your competitors, as we see, that was Ron Palmer going straight on there, I think maybe just getting out of the way there at Eric Oviatt. But yeah, I think that's, it just shows you when you think your competitor is unbeatable, and then the cracks start to show, and that's certainly been the case with Jacob. But I know we sort of kidded, we sort of joked about it, but we were getting a brilliant sort of fortnightly update on how Jacob's track car build was going, and then 1 minute the turbo was ordered, then the turbo had arrived, but then of course we missed a few weeks because of course he wasn't on the podium and wasn't in the interview room. So hopefully he'll get in the interview room today and we'll be able to find out what how the car is doing.
Right now, Abrams doing so in the 3rd position, back up front for your overall lead. Hollander has not let Michael Johnson get any space. They were side by side in NASCAR Turn 2, and now through the infield road course, you can see Hollander using a little bit different line. And Peter, this is an open setup, and so especially as the tires wear out, different drivers are going to have different philosophies going on.
Indeed, and Matt Hollander just got one portion, just a 10 or 20% of his tire onto the grass, and he just had the most monumental tank slapper there. Huge right-hand lock, then left-hand lock, then right-hand lock again, and he did. I tell you what, Matt Hollander did a great job to keep that car out of the barrier, but look what it's done. It's just allowed Michael Johnson that little bit of breathing space, that critical breathing space. And just coming on to what you were saying there, Devin, of course, the very important about the setup and how how much downforce you put into the car. Of course, on the super speedway, there's actually plenty time to actually draft the car in front. So I think that's why we've seen Michael Johnson and Matt Hollander so close with one another, because the draft is so big at such an effect. As Nico Silva's off again in the Manti racing machine, and he's got a bit of damage to his rear wing.
Yeah, second bit of extracurriculars for the 24-year-old here tonight, and Silva still 5th overall, but certainly that wing damage is going to hurt his aerodynamics.
Yeah, of course, these... Oh, we've got a one very loose Cayman there, and oh,
Whoa.
Slam.
Yeah, I think that's the same car that got into Michael Johnson earlier. Granted, same corner, but a role reversal, if you will. That Cayman was on the outside last time, now on the inside, and here Silva actually negating pitting. He'll stay out on the track. You might not know about that damage on the right rear wing, though.
Yeah, he could well feel it. I think it was either for the Caymans, it was either Savak Fergarian or Larry Hassett. It was 3-digit number on the side of that car. Trying to look at the number there. Who do we have here? It's Fergarian, yeah. So Fergarian been involved in a couple of little incidents, but it's just almost as if he's just been distracted with the faster cars coming through, and then just kind of made mistakes.
And that has been a concern for a lot of these GT4 drivers, is how fast some of these RSR cars come up to them. And the rule as a lapped car, especially multi-class racing, is be predictable. And I mean, to the point, it hasn't even been that he's been unpredictable. It's that when he gets a little bit loose, it's wrong place, wrong time, because he's running a part of the track that he hasn't ran all day long against a much faster car.
Indeed, yes. And of course, these in the real world, it would be highly unusual. I certainly don't know of any example where you would have a car, certainly in GT cars anyway, where you would have something with the pace of a Porsche 911 RSR and something of the pace of a GT4. You often see GT3s and GT4s running together on track, and that can have its problems as well. But normally, you know, you wouldn't necessarily see that. But you're absolutely right. For the slower class cars, they've just got to try and be predictable. And actually, the best thing they can kind of do is basically drive as they normally would, and then at least the faster cars have kind of got a bit of an idea of what they will do. So that's part of the, you know, part of the challenge of multi-class racing. And well, we've seen it many times in both the real and virtual world. One particular example that comes to mind is, we've got one of the, it's Michael Raban off on the super speedway, so it's a strange place to go off.
Running 9th, or I believe he was 8th at the time in GT4. We'll take a look back here, and he might even have a penalty. I think he passed the pit entrance line.
I see. So, it just gets a little bit loose on the, there you go, just on that transition, and he tries to hang on to it. He goes into the path of, I think that's Boccioni there. But I tell you what, if you're gonna have a crash, why not have a crash in a car with a beautiful blue and black Octavio factory colors on there? I mean, it can't be all bad, can it?
And no penalty for the 929, excuse me. Now 9th in GT4, 14th overall. And now we are just 25 minutes through, 35 minutes to go. We're reaching the point of go time usually in a regular race. Now you're starting to think about pit strategy as these guys are on shortened fuel. So we will see who decides to duck down onto pit road first. Your leader right now overall in RSR is Michael Johnson. He has added up a 10-second lead now on Matt Hollander, so there may have been more issues for the 477.
Yeah, Matt Hollander 1.7 seconds slower last time around, so certainly not on the pace of what you would expect, but definitely there's been an issue somewhere. But we are coming into the point where we're going to have to start thinking about pit stops. The RSR has 55% of its normal fuel cell, which is about, well, normally between 55 minutes and 60 minutes, you would expect that car to go in a full tank of fuel. So they're not going to be far from their pit window. And well, these little Caymans on a full tank of fuel, you wouldn't believe it, they can go 90 minutes on a full tank. So they've been given 45% of their fuel tank to force the pit stop. So we should see them all coming into pit lane around a similar kind of time.
So I suppose you could try the RSR to save like really aggressively. But if you're going to try to pit later on regardless, how important are fresh tires compared to the old tires here? I mean, might we even see some mixed stops where you're not taking 4 tires, although I'm sure that you're not taking full fuel if you're pitting late. But how important are the tires here, which might depend on how early you're going to plan to pit?
Well, I would be very surprised to see any of the runners taking tires, mainly because it takes so long to fit them. It's about a 20-second penalty to fit those tires. So you'll see in a race of this length, usually the drivers will very typically not take those tires and have to effectively just kind of run what you brung, make them last for the 60 minutes. So for the drivers that might want to try some fuel saving, perhaps that certainly helps with the tire saving as well. So they do go hand in hand. But it's the tires won't be such an issue, but it'll all be about, I would say it's more about traffic where you are. If you're being hassled by another driver and it's upsetting your rhythm, sometimes a good time to dive to pit lane and get out of the sequence. But we've seen it where if you think you're coming across some more traffic, you can dive into pit lane as well. So I think that's going to be the real deployment of what these guys are going to do.
Taking a look at Doug Boccignone, been racing with the Boxer Spec since 2011. That's a lap came in behind him. But Boccignone was able to hop on in, get a victory a few weeks ago. He just started sim racing back in April of 2020, and picking up a win in a league like this, I mean, that just has to make a driver ecstatic, especially when you start racing in April of that year.
Indeed, yeah, of course. In the iRacing simulator, it's so incredibly advanced and so accurate and so realistic. We're so lucky actually to have it, to be quite frank, because you look at so many other sports that have had to shut down completely in this very strange 2020 that we've had. But we've had programs like iRacing, and iRacing is by far I would say the industry leader in terms of accuracy, in terms of realness and realism, I should say. For that reason, because it's so realistic, it does take a bit longer to kind of get up to pace and learn the tricks of the trade. So yeah, really good to see Boccignone. He's had some good results, and like you say, a win last time out, really thoroughly deserved.
On board here with the 728 of Jacob Abrams, trying to close the gap to Michael Osh for second here. And it looks like Matt Hollander's went on to pit road. He's second in RSR. I don't know, he might have some damage from some extracurriculars, but this might also be a strategy play. We are exactly at halfway.
Yeah, so this looks to be on schedule for Matt Hollander in the 477 machine. We heard from him last time out that this color scheme, this kind of turquoise and black, is a new color scheme he's working on for his new Porsche race car. He's sold the green camo Boxster, I understand. But I have to say, I'm a little sad, Devin, that he's ditched the Alan McNish throwback Mobil 1 replica livery.
Yeah, it has the POC logo on the hood of the car, and when you see a kind of a turquoise car, my first thought is Octavio Tequila. Unfortunately, this one just kind of blends in, but it's not an Octavio Tequila car nonetheless. But the 27-year-old here looks like he's taking tires, so the first one onto pit road is also the one to add tires, and now your GT4 leader, Eric Oviatt, is coming in as well.
Well, I have to say, I am surprised there. We just saw there, before we cut away, how long Matt Hollander is up on the jacks. It's just agonizing wait for those tires to be changed, and I honestly do not think that time invested in getting those tires on is going to be gained in the next 28 minutes out on track, as Matt Hollander's got those new Michelin tires on. Let's see what he can do. Who knows? As we see Eric Oviatt, he's on the lane. What's he going to do? Does he go up on the jacks? I would be very surprised to see it. He's filling up with fuel. Remember, if he goes up on the jacks, he's taking tires. If he doesn't,
so here's the difference here. Hollander spent 44.6 seconds in his box, a total of 1:29 on pit road. Now, this is a different class, but Oviatt only spent 15 seconds in his box, less than a minute down pit road. So an extra 30 seconds on pit road itself there for Hollander. Granted, yeah, 2 different classes here, but a 30-second difference on track is huge.
That's absolutely massive indeed. And 30 seconds with 27 minutes left back on the clock. So you've got to effectively go a second a minute quicker, which is, well, very, very hard to do. And with a lap at 1 minute 40, that's really, really tricky to do. And like I say, it doesn't, this circuit not massively strenuous on tyres, are there? There's not many fast corners. Obviously, this you could, if you exclude the super speedway section, of course. But as we see, Michael Johnson deciding to just use the apron slightly there on this super speedway section, but he's still cracking on. And also, you know, there is a benefit. You know, putting on tires is not the only thing you can do to go quicker. If Michael Johnson can have a few more laps on low fuel, that does give a speed advantage as well, because of course the less fuel you have in the car, the lighter it is, so the quicker it is. So that is maybe what Michael Johnson's planning on now, is running that tank as dry as possible and then coming into his pit stop.
The inaugural season of the Porsche Owners Club was a 4-race season, a sprint for the championship, and they ended their season here at Auto Club. That was a 70-minute race won by Matt Hollander, so you have to wonder if he's taking experience or something that he learned from that race and is trying to apply it to the 60-minute race here. Jim Slavic now, the second RSR car to head down pit road right now. So this would be only car number 3 down into the pits. 26 minutes to go, 34 minutes down here at Auto Club.
Yeah, he's coming down pit road right now. It's Jim Slavic, and of course, for him, he's you know, you're never out of a race of this length, no matter what part of the race you're in, because, you know, it's just everybody's concentration just starts to wear after that amount of time. As Michael Johnson, our leader, so the overall leader, is in the pit lane as well in the Octavia Tequila Porsche 911 RSR. So I actually saw on the group digital paddock earlier on, Devon, that Michael Johnson, and I'm not joking, actually plans to take a shot of Octavia Tequila while taking his pit stop.
That is just brand dedication at its finest, or it's just he really likes Octavia Tequila. It could be both. It could be one or another. I don't think he cares.
I think it's both, and I think, well, what a way to refresh. Just you're leading the race, you just maybe a little bit stressed. Just have a nice little glass of Octavia Tequila and just soothes the brow.
Michael Bolton pitched from second in RSR. You're looking now at Matt Hollander trying to close the gap. You look at Jim Slavic, his times on pit road, grabbing tires almost identical, only 9/10 of a second difference on the pit lane. Still Johnson is your leader. We're taking a look right now at the difference between his stop time and his pit lane time. And he has that first pit stall, so we will see how it does for him, as his pit crew does not look well equipped in their 3-piece suits, but they still get him out pretty quickly. And off of pit road, it is almost identical. It was a 10-second differential on track back when Hollander pit. So we will see how this comes out.
I have to say, I am very, very surprised indeed to see these guys taking tires, especially with only 24 minutes left in the race. But never mind. They come out, and Michael Johnson now 12 seconds or so ahead. So very much his race to control now. But it's an opportunity for Bolton and Slavic as well to actually not take tires and try to make up that time. They get basically 20 seconds for free at that point.
Bottignone on pit road, Momeyer, Fagari, and all GT4s now making their pit stops as well. Taking a look here. Right now, Nico Silva, his issues on the day have been well documented, unfortunately. He finds himself in the lead as the last RSR to hit pit road, and he has been running with that rear wing damage as well.
Yeah, he has. And he's just having to serve a slowdown penalty here as well, but he's done it at the right point, coming into pit lane. So just, well, if he can do a splash and dash, you never know. He could just get himself into the fringes of the battle. Never know, might sneak a podium. So there goes the leader, Michael Johnson. Matt Hollander is another 13 seconds further back. So, you know, Nico Silva's not out at the podium, and what a story that would be after his earlier problems.
Yeah, Silva had a plethora of problems as Momeyer pulls out behind him. So he pulls onto pit road. It will be a fight to get his way up. Now, all the other RSRs actually spent time getting 4 tires on pit road, so everyone's pit stop has been about the same now. You saw that he took the fast repair as the backup car magically appeared, and he's spending some good time on pit road as well. So we will see if he decides to do some sort of different strategy, because right now everyone has spent almost exactly a minute 30 on pit road.
Let's see, if I was Nico Silva, I would throw the dice. Don't take the tires. Put a little splash of fuel in, and off you go for the last part. You only need, well, 22. You only need, oh, he has taken the tires. So that's it. Almost seems automatic for these guys in the RSR class.
So Michael Johnson, a 12-second lead in front of Matt Hollander. Bolton is another 16 seconds behind them for the podium. Taking a look at GT4, Michael O still your leader. Jacob Abrams in the lead. BJ Fulton right now on pit road. Oviat, who pitted earlier, is 5th in GT4.
We're just getting word that, in fact, all of the RSR runners have taken tires. So nobody playing the alternative strategy. I have to say, if I was a Porsche owner, which would be lovely, and if I was a member of the Porsche Owners Club, I would be throwing the dice, Devin.
Yeah, and here's another variable. So last time these drivers raced here for the Porsche Owners Club, it was a night race. Now it is afternoon and the hottest part of the day, but if you look at the weather, it's really not that bad out. So it's not like some of these other races where it's almost 100 degrees on track. Track temp is 74 degrees. It's not going to get later, so track temperature will stay stagnant as well. So it's not like weather's really playing a factor in needing fresh tires either.
No, it is a strange one, I have to say. It's the track temperature. That's nice and comfortable, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. And actually, I can give you a little bit of a reference there, Devin. I was in my happy place yesterday. I was in the what we call the Gary Stagg commentary tower at my local track, Knockhill Racing Circuit. And on the timing screen, there is a live update of what the track temperature is, and some of the readouts on that can be comical. And yesterday it was a typically cold, damp Scottish autumn day. And do you know what the track temperature was for most of the day? 6 degrees centigrade.
That's I don't know if iRacing actually allows that.
I don't think so. They're going to have to think about that. And I'm starting a campaign for iRacing to come over to Scotland and scan Knockhill. That would be that if anybody wants to get me like an early birthday present, ask iRacing to come over to Scotland, and I'll look after them. I'll let them try some haggis, some scotch.
You might even give them some Octavio tequila.
Absolutely, why not? I think that would be rude not to give them Octavio tequila. I mean, if they're your guest, it's only hospitality, right?
I would have to assume so. More drivers hitting pit road. Jad Duncan, along with the president, Ron Palmer, over 60 years old, and still mixing it up with these youngsters here on iRacing. He likes to get into the party every now and again. So we're now looking at 41 minutes down, 19 minutes to go. And so some of the means starting to meet their ends here as we get closer to the checkered flag.
So we see Doug Boccignoni taking tires. So the pit lane getting busy for the GT4 runners. Like you say, Ron Palmer, one of the oldest guys in the field, but by far and away the coolest guy in the field. If he raced for American Honda in the late 70s, that was a time where motorcycle racers were, well, I mean, motorcycle racers are still very, very cool, but in those days, oh, that was two-stroke motorcycles. That was the day.
Yeah, Palmer raced motorcycles from the age of 5 until he was 35 and raced for American Honda from 1977 to 1979. the 64-year-old Porsche Owners Club president, mixing it up here in the sim racing world. As Paul Newton and Michael Ost are on pit road, that hands the lead over to Jacob Abrams, the 7-time winner this season, trying to get his way back onto victory lane. Eric Oviatt has won the last 2 races in a row. He was the first to pit, currently still in the 4th position, now moving down the front straightaway and inherits the 2nd position.
So we're just hearing that Paul Newton in the 217 car, the Peel's California Mandarins machine, has decided not to take tires. So he's rolling the dice, or are all the others rolling the dice and he's taking the correct way, but we'll see. And also Michael Ost taking tires. So I think my money's now on Paul Newton. I'm definitely I'm not going to make a very good Michelin salesman, am I?
Certainly not. Jacob Abrams now hitting pit road as well, and definitely some split strategy here between these top runners. Now, changing tires isn't quite a big a deal in GT4 as it is in the RSR, because in GT4 you can do this simultaneously. So it's only about, say, a 15 or 20-second advantage as opposed to a 30 or 35-second advantage. But still, time on pit road and time on track makes a big difference.
It does. It does for sure. We're now coming into the final quarter of the race. Now let's see, does Jacob Abrams take tires? This is the critical question. Of course, simultaneously the fuel and the tires can be changed on these GT4 machines. He doesn't. So Jacob Abrams, he's going for it. Jacob Abrams has just put himself back in contention for this race.
So the top 4 right now in GT4, looks like they all didn't take tires, all between 56 and 59 seconds on pit road. Michael Ost, who was leading this race at one point, did. He spent a minute 13 on pit road. That's about a 15-second differential that puts him back further deep on the track.
Yep, Jacob Abrams now only 3 seconds behind the leader, Eric Oviatt, and that is the difference. And also, Paul Newton, he's only 6 seconds off the leader as well. So the battle really hotting up at the front of the GT4 field. Oh, Eric Oviatt looks to... No, Ost has got a problem.
So Michael Ost, you're looking at here, behind BJ Fulton. This is for 5th in GT4.
Yeah, it certainly... It looked like there was a little bit of an issue there for Michael Ost. Well, there's now a 3-way battle for the win here in GT4. In the RSR GTE class, well, it looks like Matt Hollander is just nibbling a little bit of that gap away from Michael Johnson, but looks to me with 15 minutes to go, Devin, it's going to need a mistake from Johnson for Hollander to be able to reel in that gap completely.
Yeah, both are on similar strategies. Hollander pitted exactly at the halfway point and took tires. So I think that you're hoping to see a little bit more time gained on Hollander's side, getting fresher tires sooner, and was going to run down Johnson, and that just really wasn't the case. He's gained about 2 seconds since they finished their pit road stops, but with 14.5 minutes remaining, a 10.5-second differential is probably just too much, even if Hollander's going qualifying laps every single time around Auto Club.
It does indeed. And of course, Michael Johnson, he is the only guy to lap underneath a 1 minute 31. His best is a 1 minute 30.973, and Hollander 131.055. So very close, but Michael Johnson's got that critical fast lap as well for bragging rights after the race, as we see Ost and Fulton having a little dust up here.
Now Ost taking over the 5th position, retaining, I believe. And so the top 5 right now, Oviatt, Abrams, Newton, Boccignone, and Ost, who did take 4 tires and is paying the price right now behind the rest of these drivers and is actually having to drive through more traffic than his GT4 competitors. But Oviatt still maintaining a 3.5-second lead right now over Jacob Abrams for this lead. Oviatt, we mentioned back-to-back victories here in the Porsche Owners Club. Abrams had 7 early on and is your points leader, but still vying to get back to victory lane.
Yeah, he wants to get a taste of that victory. Octavio Tequila, forget champagne. You want to celebrate properly with 100% blue agave small batch. So, can he reel in Eric Oviatt? Their ideal lap times are very, very close again. Jacob Abrams fastest, 141.183. Oviatt, 141.220. So, very, very close on pace. And in fact, Oviatt, as you can see, that bit quicker that last time around by about half a second. So, Abrams, if he wants this win, is going to have to pull out a bit more pace.
And he has typically been the fastest driver in the field. We typically say that he's putting on a clinic, but early on we saw that he just wasn't able to pick through the field. The 30-year-old who owns and operates a lighting rental company for film, TVs, and other commercials in Los Angeles near his hometown, but still just trying to find a way to reel in Eric Oviatt. He's gained about half a second in the past lap or so, but still a 3-second interval.
Yep, well, now look at what we've seen in the RSR class. A gap that was 10 seconds is now 5 seconds. So Michael Johnson has hit problems somewhere. And his last lap was a 134.8, whereas Hollander was a 131.1. So definitely an issue somewhere for Michael Johnson, the number 18. It's somewhere out on the circuit. So that changes everything now, because that is going to rattle Michael Johnson. He's going to be thinking, okay, Matt Hollander is close enough now to really get the move on and try and catch him up. So we'll see. And that just takes one little incident with some lap traffic, and that could bring that RSR battle back together.
Hollander won this race in the virtual world last season to end the year. And if we get on board in a moment with Matt Hollander, we can show you the one thing that any driver needs to win a race. And in this case, it would be just being able to see that RSR in front of you. When you have the visualization, it gives you a little bit more motivation to go on the hunt.
It does, yeah. As we see another cone bang out the way. I've never seen a track with so many cones on it that the cones sprayed all over the track. Fantastic. So as you see, Michael Ost side drafting alongside Doug Boccignoni on the, well, I was about to say the high banks. They are not high banks here at Fontana. They're almost flat banks here at this Super Speedway Cum road course.
That is the battle for fourth. Oviatt now moving into that fourth position over Boccignoni. As those fresh rubbers, not sure how much he can utilize them though, trying to work his way through the field, coming down to just 10 minutes to go. We see Boccignoni running the corner wide there, and that might just be part of having those older tires as opposed to having fresh rubber.
Could be, yeah, for sure. As we see Ost makes his way through once more. It's a brilliant battle back and forth between these guys, but Boccignoni is on the, in fact, he did take tires, didn't he? Of course, he did take new tires, so they're probably both on the same. As we've got a spinner in the background there. Who was that? One of the back markers, I think, might have been Freckleton, possibly. One of the black cars. No. Anyway, we'll come back to that one. But back towards just an update on the RSR battle. Once again, a 132.477 for Michael Johnson and a 131.445 for Hollander. So Hollander really reeling in the pace now. 9 minutes to go, 4.8 seconds is the gap. And like you said, Devin, looks to me that Hollander has got that motivation from being able to see. Well, no wonder he can see the Octavio Tequila car.
Well, of course. And you just saw some lap comparisons there for GT4. Eric Oviatt, your leader, and Michael Ost, who did take tires and kind of fell back. Last time around the circuit, Ost was actually slower by about 0.2. The lap previous, he was faster by almost half a second. And that just is not enough time to make up any room to make an adjustment. He's about 20 seconds behind Oviatt. So it looks like, at least in GT4, the tires did not work out. About 20 seconds difference on pit road, and right now about a 20-second difference on the track.
Yeah, it seems that they've not, they've sort of get to a level and stay there for quite some time. Of course, Nico Silva, of course, it looked to me that all the RSR runners took tyres. So despite his issues, he's still holding down 4th place. So he's going to get that Manti Racing liveried machine to the end. Of course, Manti Racing, who run the Porsche Le Mans effort in the GTE class, and also in the Nürburgring 24 Hours as well, where they've won that particular race 7 times. And for me, the Nürburgring 24 Hour, the most challenging race to finish, let alone win. But Michael Johnson, he's just steadied the ship. And in fact, Matt Hollander, a 133.0 last time around. So, bit of a mistake somewhere for Hollander, but then it goes back again last time around. So it's going back and forth like an accordion.
Yeah, Johnson last time by a 132.257. Hollander a 131.649, over half a second difference, but the gap remains hovering over 4 seconds. Hollander trying to make Chase best that he can to retain the title of the Auto Club Speedway champion in the Porsche Owners Club. Won last season in a 70-minute race, owns the track record in the physical world at the real-life Auto Club Speedway road course in the Boxster Spec class. Now trying to come back and win this 60-minute race here on the iRacing platform.
Well, he's certainly throwing everything at it. Took 0.8 of a second out of Michael Johnson there, but for every part that the Matt Hollander takes out of Michael Johnson, it sometimes seems to work back. But this is the closest he's been. And they have Paul Newton in the Peels Orange machine in between them. Could this hold up Hollander ever so slightly as they come around one of the tighter sections? This is where the RSR will be a lot faster, but he gets past cleanly and then opens up the power, pings another away and up onto the Super Speedway section, and it's now only 3.5 seconds. This is getting tight.
Yeah, continue to get tighter and tighter with just 6 minutes to go. Obviously, it's go time, but when you come to a race like this, I still don't think an hour is necessarily an endurance race. It is compared to just 30 minutes, how these drivers usually race in the Porsche Owners Club. But this group also does in real life wheel-to-wheel racing and practice racing and time trials, and they do that here in the sim world as well. So they will actually host driving clinics just like they would in the real life. And so some of these drivers got some experience, and having experience in any kind of car and understanding how you need to adapt to a certain car on old tires, I mean, it really makes the difference between, I guess at this point I'll just say hitting the corner, not hitting the corner there. A slight error in judgment there from Hollander, and that other turquoise and black car gets a little bit further away.
That was, looked like, oh, big moment there for Hollander as well. So he just gets really, really loose there on the bumps, locks a brake up. It all seems to be unraveling slightly, and I think it's because he can see Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson not having an easy time with it either. In fact, despite all these mistakes for Hollander, he... Oh my word, that was close. Despite the mistakes for Hollander, he still seemed to be taking time out of Johnson, but this is the worst place to get stuck here. Oh, dear me. As that is...
Palmer trying to get
Ron
best
Palmer.
he can out of the way there.
Yeah.
That's a tight section.
It is. There wasn't really much Ron Palmer could do, but that was just bad luck there for Matt Hollander. The traffic gives and it takes away.
Meanwhile, in GT4, Abrams now 2 seconds behind Eric Oviatt. Third place in GT4 right now is Paul Noon. He has fallen far off of this battle, about 10.5 seconds behind the lead. Third place, though, in RSR right now, 20 seconds behind that lead battle, is Michael Bolton, the 28-year-old. He graduated from Bondurant Racing School in Chandler, Arizona, certified for both racing and stunt driving. And it's kind of fun to see what different drivers have learned to do. And for Bolton, it's being a director of photography for both commercials and also music videos. And maybe we need to get a little bit of a hookup and get a music video for Octavio Tequila going. And I think that Bolton would be a great guy for it. And he's been pretty decent in 4 Drink Fridays. He has a couple 4 Drink Friday titles to his name as well.
Oh, I think, yeah, Michael Bolton, he's He's got to go. As you can see, he's ditched the Red Bull livery and got his own custom livery now as well. I think to be honest, I think he should just change to the Octavio Tequila. But yeah, wouldn't that be cool? The next Snoop Dogg video, sipping on some Octavio Tequila.
Why not? Why not at all? Bolton trying to bring it home on the podium. He's about 51 seconds ahead of Nico Silva in fourth, so he just needs to ride this out, and he will be up on the podium. About 20 seconds in front of him is Matt Hollander. Another 3 seconds in front is your leader, Michael Johnson, in the lead as we come down to 3 minutes remaining here at Auto Club Speedway.
So Matt Hollander getting agonizingly close to Michael Johnson. He took 3/10 out of his rival the last time around. But who is going to take it? But in GT4, it's getting even closer. Eric Oviatt trying to get it over the line, a 142.288, but Jacob Abrams nearly half a second quicker that time around, and he can smell victory here, and he is on the charge. And for Eric Oviatt, that red and white machine behind him, that is not what he wants to see in his mirror.
More bicycling off that curve, and this time it's in the unfortunate area for Oviatt, and now that lead dwindles to half a second. The 30-year-old Jacob Abrams trying to get win number 8 on the season. He by far has the points lead, but is trying to get back on top of the podium for the first time in about 2 months.
Yeah, it's been a long wait for Jacob Abrams, especially for a man of his talent and his speed. They're both pushing hard there. You can see they're really leaning on it there. They come past the old Kaiser Steel water tower, which now has the scoring tower on it. This sort of circuit, as we say, white flag for our leaders is out, and Matt Hollander, he looks visibly closer, and on the time screen he is less than 2 seconds. So this is going to have to be a big push from Matt Hollander, but he's close enough to perhaps, if something, he's certainly within the range now, Devin.
He will have to go all out over the next 2.8 miles. Now only about 2.5 miles remaining on this course. In every corner perfectly. He has that view through the front windshield just a little bit far away. He's blinking the lights. He's saying, hey, I want to come. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Yeah, he's like, I race a Porsche, but I drive a BMW on the road, so I'm just going to flash my lights unnecessarily.
Hey, maybe just trying to get some sort of distraction or something. Hollander still reeling in Johnson. The deficit is down to just 1.1 seconds.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a very, very common tactic. We see it a lot in touring car racing, particularly here in the UK. The fearsome battles in the British Touring Car Championship. The lights are often a distraction. And, well, Matt Hollander, he is on the tear. He's taken a second out of Michael Johnson in half a lap. So he is all over the back of the Octavio Tequila machine. But Michael Johnson, he might be have Matt Hollander right in his case now, but he's still got a chance to defend.
Still has just a little bit more time coming through the final corner. Hollander able to make a fight, trying to get a little bit of a draft down the front straightaway. It was an incredible fight up to the front, door to door to the line. And Hollander will not be able to get there. The fastest lap of the race, but he will fall short in his quest by 0.05 of a second. Michael Johnson claims victory at Auto Club Speedway. And now the battle for GT4 is closed up as well. Jacob Abrams almost half a second behind. Coming, though, through the final corner. One last chance here. Abrams will not be able to get quite enough of a slipstream here, and Eric Oviatt will hold off the charge from Jacob Abrams as well. Oviatt makes it 3 wins in a row here in the Porsche Owners Club.
Wow, what a finish that was. And it looked to me that Matt Hollander was planning on using the GT4 car as a little bit of a kind of pick there. As we see, yeah, so he goes up onto the banking. Michael Johnson is on the inside on the apron, and you can see again a closer look at the Octavia Tequila livery there. And there was, you can not really see it off the camera, but there was a GT4 car just up ahead, and I think there it is. And that was, I think, what Matt Hollander's plan was, but they just didn't quite close him down in time. But, whoa, What a finish! And of course, they were on track together at some points through the race, but a lot of the time it was more a battle on the timesheets. And what a finish!
An incredible run there by Matt Hollander and Jacob Abrams for a last-ditch effort to attempt to win the race. Hollander falls short by 5/100ths. Abrams falls short by 0.3 of a second. We will take a break, bring it back for your final finishing order, and also the top 3 podium for each class will join us here in the booth here on GSRC. Well, both classes saw someone trying to act like LeBron James with a rundown block to win the NBA Finals. But in this case here in the Porsche Owners Club, the guys out front end up holding off the charge to win in both classes. In RSR, it was Michael Johnson who had the lead for the majority of this race, but Matt Hollander, an impeccable charge up the field, fell short though by 0.5 of a second. Michael Bolton rounds out your podium. Nico Silva ends up in 4th and Jim Slavic in 5th. In 6th place, Eric Oviatt held off Jacob Abrams by just 0.3 of a second in another late race charge. Oviatt now makes it 3 wins in a row. Paul Newton ends 3rd in class, Ost 4th in class, and Doug Boccionione rounds out the top 10 overall.
In 11th was BJ Fulton, followed by Mark Rondeau and Michael Robin. Jad Duncan was 14th with John Momameyer, Aaron Edwards, Savak Fagarian, Jerry Freckleton, Larry Hassa, and Ron Palmer rounding out the top 20.
Looking through your final names of bad luck days for Connor Bloom, Lucas Weinsberg, then I'm not sure Galmarani and Carroll did make a start, but that will be it for your field tonight. The 60-minute race at Auto Club Speedway for the Porsche Owners Club. Well, now we will talk to the victor overall, Michael Johnson, bringing Octavio Tequila home on the top step of the podium. But tell me, how did it feel seeing that other car behind you get bigger and bigger down the final few corners and down the front straightaway? What happened there at the end?
I was low on fuel and thinking too much about the tequila I was about to drink. So suddenly he caught up, and there was a little traffic here and there. It wasn't too bad, but had a few minor traffic issues. And then when I saw that white flag and about 2-second gap, I was like, I think I can hold this. I hope I can hold this. And well, fortunately I held it. I think the gap was less than 0.5 second at the end.
Oh, the gap at the end between you and Matt?
Yeah.
The gap at the end was 0.5.
Yeah, it was tight. It was really tight, and I got a little wiggly coming off the corner. Something was weird with my tires after the tire change. They weren't hooking up like they were earlier in the race, and it just everything felt weird. If you were watching my lap times, you noticed everything fell off into the, I think, 31s and 32s through most of the second half of the race.
Yeah, that last lap for you was a minute 32.2. Hollander a 1:30.6, but able to hold him off. Your first victory here this season in the Porsche Owners Club, and it comes here in a 60-minute race at Auto Club, a track that you guys know well in the real world at least. But what does it mean to finally be on the top step of the podium here and making the RSR as well?
Well, it's interesting that while most of these POC guys know this, in the pro circuit, we rarely come here. So IMSA doesn't come here. The World Challenge doesn't come here. So it is not a track I am familiar with at all. This was just seat of the pants, figure it out, because I had no references at all from anywhere, and I had to figure it out. And modified a setup, started playing with it, and it ended up that it worked out. And just luckily I was able to bring the world's greatest tequila along with me.
That is correct. And on the top step of the podium, that will be refreshing. Who else do you have to thank, though, for helping you get up on the top of the podium tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank a couple of my clients. I've got a few really good coaching clients out there. There's Ben Bettenhausen of that Bettenhausen family, those of you who recognize it. There's also my mother. She decided she was going to tune into this race, and I have to credit her with this win, because if she hadn't tuned in to watch this race, right when the race was over, my text messages were going crazy because she was messaging me saying how exciting it was. So I got to give her credit for this win, for watching me through the win.
Well, Mama Michael, congratulations. Michael Johnson is a winner here in the Porsche Owners Club, and it sounds like Mom is going to have to watch every race now, because sounds like she's your good luck charm.
She is now bound by contract to do that every race, yes.
Well, Michael and Mama Johnson, congrats. Congrats on the victory, and we'll see you in a couple weeks, Michael.
Thank you.
Now we'll go ahead and bring in your GT4 winners. 3 wins in a row now for Eric Oviatt.
Eric, that was a mighty impressive drive. You're on a bit of a roll. What is it you've been having for breakfast? Is it Octavio tequila?
Sounds like a yes to me.
That was definitely a yes, I heard.
Well, we'll give Eric here a moment to get his microphone turned back on, but 3 wins in a row here for Eric Oviatt. And while I think Jacob Abrams is still the championship favorite here, Peter, Eric is putting out quite a great bid here in the GT4s.
Hey, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was busy in the kitchen pouring myself a glass of tequila.
Yeah, sorry, I think we just lost you again there. What? Can you come again for us?
Oh, I walked too far away from the computer. I had to go get a glass of tequila to celebrate. Sorry, guys.
Quite right, absolutely. And well, this been on a bit of a roll these last few weeks. What's been the difference, do you think?
Well, going to tracks that we've raced before is a big difference. I haven't been back east. We're kind of West Coast based, and I've done thousands of laps at these tracks, so a lot more familiar, a lot more comfortable. And switching back to the GT4, which is more similar to my real life car, has done me well. Been fun. I'd say another thing would be incident points. Like, I ran an hour race with 0 incident points that race, so that's a big deal. Trying to get through a whole hour.
Well, it sounds like we might have lost Eric there, our race winner. We'll try to get him back here in a second. And it sounds like Peter might have been drinking too much tequila as well. Sorry, Eric, we got you back now, but back up on top of the podium for 3 weeks in a row now. It's been a pretty miraculous month and a half for you. What has made the difference here in the second part of the year?
Things going back to a car that I'm more familiar driving. I like mid-engine cars. That's what I drive in real life. And coming back to West Coast tracks. I'm more familiar with these tracks. I've done thousands of laps at Auto Club Speedway. I've done several hour-long enduros here. And this one was nice. It was only like 68, 70 in my house. It wasn't 105 in the cockpit. And yeah, just more familiar with these courses and having fun more in a more comfortable car.
Well, that certainly helps. Eric, who do you have to thank being on the top step of the podium again, and this time a big 60-minute race here at Auto Club?
Yeah. Thanks for POC to keep putting them on, and Matt for running the program, and my family and HRG for supporting my racing, for the past 15 years or whatever it is now. Yeah, thanks for checking in. Thanks for watching.
Well, you sure made a show, Eric. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you here in just a couple weeks.
Take it easy, guys. Have fun.
That is Eric Oviatt, the victor for the third time in a row, third time this season. We'll head back to RSR now and chat with Matt Hollander. An incredible charge there at the end, Matt. First of all, you pit at the almost exact midway point. I think you're 2 seconds off pulling into your box at exactly halfway. But then you make that miraculous charge in the closing laps. What was that last charge made out of there?
I don't know. I think it was just putting the head down, trying to get around traffic smoothly, and just try to go for a charge. I mean, Mr. Johnson did a great job of throwing a couple cones at me at the beginning of the race. I don't know if you guys saw it in the broadcast, but I was trying to hit the berms a little bit to knock the cones out from underneath the car because the car would just not turn, wouldn't get out of fourth gear coming around the banking. So really kind of put me at a disadvantage, but just put the head down and charge there at the end.
Well, a great finish still, bringing it home in the second position, although I'm sure that you were looking for that P1 after winning this race in a 70-minute event last season. What did you take from that race and you were able to put into this race? Obviously, time of day is different, the race length is different, the car is different, but what could you take from that win, what feels like almost half a year ago now, and try to contribute to this race today?
I think the biggest thing was actually putting enough fuel in the car to be able to finish the race and not have to pace, like I had to at the virtual tribute to Le Mans. I don't know if you guys remember that race, but crossed the line with like 0.02 gallons left in the car, so it was really had a hard time keeping Greg LaFoon behind me in that race. So, having the right amount of fuel, knowing I could push the car as hard as it would go for the last 30 minutes. I just treated that last 30 minutes as kind of a sprint race to try to make up that 10-second gap that Michael had on me.
Well, you made up 9.95 of that 10-second gap. You certainly made it entertaining there at the end. Still a second-place finish. Who do you have to thank for stepping up here on the podium again?
Well, of course, I want to give big shout-out to Century Financial Consultants, my sponsor. Big shout-out to my mom and dad. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to be out here racing. And a big shout-out to the Porsche Honors Club for allowing me to, help put this league on for everyone and bring everyone some enjoyment every other week.
Well, you certainly put on a show to close out this 60-minute race at Auto Club Speedway. Matt, congrats on a second-place finish.
Thank you. Time for a shot of Octavio Tequila.
Sounds good to me, and it sounds like you'll be joining a few other of you guys. Maybe you guys need a virtual meeting for that, a virtual post-race green room.
We'll jump over into our Discord and we'll cheers each other.
Sounds good. Matt, congratulations tonight, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys.
That was Matt Hollander, your second-place finisher in RSR. Now your second-place finisher here in GT4, Jacob Abrams. Now you put on a last-lap bonanza as well as Matt Hollander. That last run there, what made the difference for you? Able to track down Oviatt, just not quite able to get around him, though.
Thanks, guys. It was definitely a tough last couple laps. I saw that my timing was kind of lucky with when RSRs were passing me, and they seemed to be passing Eric at corners when it was slowing him down more. So I was taking advantage of that, and I saw he was making a couple little mistakes, but unfortunately, not enough of a mistake for me to get close enough to him. I knew I needed to be about 3/10 or 4/10 out coming down and start finish to make a move going into turn 3, and I only got there on the last lap. I was about 8/10 behind on the prior lap and just kept slowly chipping away at it, but ultimately, needed one more lap.
Well, nonetheless, you get back on the podium. Not just great to be on the podium, but we also get to get another update. How's the car building going?
Not well. Unrelated to the turbo upgrade, some fuel system failure. So working on replacing some lines and pumps and all sorts of stuff. So right now it's not running.
Well, We'll certainly hope that changes soon. If it's anything like that last lap run that you made, it will certainly be miraculous at the very least. Jacob, who do you have to thank pulling back up on the podium tonight?
Always thank Matt and everybody at the POC for putting this on, and then of course Works Team Motorsport as well. And thanks to you guys.
Well, thank you for helping put on a show tonight at Auto Club Speedway. Congratulations on your second place finish.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Jacob Abrams brings it home in P2 and GT4. Now we are joined by your final podium position in RSR. Michael Bolton bringing it home in the third position. Now you had yourself quite a race, plenty of ups, plenty of downs, but what made the difference landing on the podium here tonight?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Man, what a crazy race. I think turn 2, Nico kind of got a little squirrely, and I had to hit the brakes. Connor totally just had nowhere to go, hit me. I went off the track, and then kind of like how Matt was, just had to put his head down and try to get the car going. But I think pretty good. It was a pretty lonely race, and man, I'm just so happy to take my first P3 of the season. I know not a huge field tonight, but I will still take the win.
Yeah, still got up on top of onto the podium here. Our producer says that he'd be more than happy to help edit your next music video. We're kind of going through some of the driver bios and stuff throughout the race, but again, you helped put on a show at the very least, bringing it up into the third position. And sometimes a lonely race isn't the worst thing to have, but when it came down to pit stops, did all of you RSRs decide to go for tires? I mean, no one took the risk there to go no tires on pit road.
No, you're absolutely right. I wish I would have taken, or I wish I didn't take tires. I think that would have put me really close to the front runners. Whether or not I would have been able to attack at all or even keep up with them, I don't know. But it did take a long time to switch those tires around. And by the way, I can always use an editor. So yeah, send me a DM.
Well, it sounds like our producer Joe Peak might be hopping on another job. So if you don't hear Joe here on the POC soon, you might know why. But nonetheless, Michael, congratulations on a third place finish. Who do you have to thank for bringing it up for your first P3 of the season?
Got to thank the POC, Matt Hollander, Palais Royale, Speed Gallery, GSRC. You guys are awesome. And yeah, my family, my mom and dad. Yeah, man, super fun race, and looking forward to the next one. Thank you guys.
Congrats on the podium, and congrats on your next editor for your music videos. Michael, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, bud. Bye.
And of course, before we close out the show here tonight, we do have to talk to your third place finisher in GT4, Paul Newton. Man, you had an eventful race. I mean, we just talked to Michael Bolton. He talked about how it was a lonely race for him. I think it was the opposite for you. You GT4s, it always seemed like most of you guys were around someone at most points in the race tonight.
Yeah, I think that's what happens with these lower-powered cars at these big, fast tracks. It kind of turns into a slipstream fest. So I think that kind of kept us all a lot closer together.
Yeah, you guys stayed together for the most part there. You held off Michael Ost. Doug Boccignone was in there as well for a while. But what made the difference here? Obviously, this track, it's not super hot outside, but it still eats up the tires. Was there any points in the race, even with that pit stop, where it just got a little bit loose or the car was making some changes that you really just weren't prepared for?
I don't think so. I went pretty conservative on the setup to save the tires the whole race. So I think my tire temps stayed pretty cool, and I didn't eat them up too much. I think I could have gone a little more aggressive, actually.
Well, bringing it home in the third position, you're up here on the podium. Who do you have to thank for being on the podium here at Auto Club Speedway?
I want to thank Peel's California Mandarins, and I want to thank the GSRC for broadcasting these great races, and Porsche Owners Club for putting on such great races.
Yeah, they are certainly fun to watch. Some great races indeed. Congratulations on bringing it up on the podium. Paul, we'll see you here in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
That is Paul Noon, your third place finisher in GT4. Well, that will do it from Auto Club Speedway. A track that a lot of these guys know well, some of them not so much. Some of them just raced here in the real world, in the physical world, about a month and a half ago, but still bringing home a great race and plenty more racing to come along as the championship continues to tighten up. Jacob Abrams still holding on to a large lead in GT4, but the RSRs continue to change, it feels like, every single week. Well, as we go away, we have to give a big thank you to the sponsors who helped the POC go ahead and run here on iRacing, and that includes Sunset Mortgage. If you haven't heard it yet, Octavio Tequila, and Century Financial Consultants. And of course, a big thank you to the organizer, the Porsche Owners Club, running every other Monday night here on GSRC. And if you might be interested in advertising with GSRC, you will love our channel's 1 million monthly global impressions. They are a great way to get your branding seen by a diverse audience. Follow the link in the description on YouTube or visit globalsimracingchannel.com/advertising to learn more. And thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed right here on your screen. And an additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And a big thanks to the team today, Peter and producer Joe Peak. If you would like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also take a look at all of our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, on Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And if you would like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. The link is in the description below. And don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page. Go hit that big red subscribe button so you never miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race for the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League, back to 30-minute races. They will return on Monday, November 2nd at Tire Canadian Motorsports Park. We also have many other upcoming races for other series listed right here on your screen, so go ahead and mark those down on your calendar, and we'll check those out when they come along. Until next time, guys, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.